that incredible introduction. Good evening, York County. How are you?
Great.
Good. It is so great to be back with you all. I just want to start by saying thank you for all of the hard work that so many people in this room did to allow me the privilege of representing your vote and your voice in the education system here in South Carolina. I will never forget my friends in York County and the work that you did to put me over the top and give me a mandate to do what I am doing every day. You may have heard somewhere that phrase, promises made, promises kept. I've heard it too, somewhere. And that's what I'm here to report to you on today, to give you a little status check. I have now been in this job just a little over 2.5 years, and I will tell you, it is some of the hardest work that I have ever done, but it is absolutely the most rewarding way that I can ever imagine spending my time and my talent, because it is a call. We are here to protect and defend the hearts and the minds and the futures of the children of the state of South Carolina, and to ensure that they have an education that opens the front door of the American dream for them and allows them to fulfill their God-given potential. And so I can't imagine a more joyful thing to do, even on the tough days, than to know that we are fighting for that bright future for the children of South Carolina. And I'm so thankful for the many legislative partners who are here in the room tonight, for our school board members who are here in the room tonight. They have hard jobs to do, and it is a privilege to be able to do my job in partnership with them. I was actually talking to Senator Wes Clymer just yesterday and commiserating with him as I gave him an update. So I actually am in court on several different provisos that he put in the state budget. And so I said, you know, Wes, I'm doing your dirty work for you here. But of course, these are things that we all believe in, things that I ran on. Getting woke indoctrination out of our schools. I will never, ever apologize for protecting safe spaces for our girls. And this one is not currently in court, but I will also say that I am absolutely 100% committed to getting graphic pornography out of our school libraries. And so I'm so thankful for the work that I've been able to do with Wes and so many others, with Jackie Terrebiel when she was on the State Board of Education. She was an incredible partner with our other members of the State Board in passing our curriculum instructional materials regulation that is helping us rein in that out of control challenge that we have with our school libraries. So I'm excited to report to you, though, that this job has not just been fighting. Although we do have to fight the bad things, we have to come in behind it and actually build. It is a time to build here in South Carolina and here in the realm of education. And I think of public education as an education ecosystem. Public education is a value that we all share. It is not a school building with 4 walls, brick and mortar. It is about where the public can be educated in the way that best suits their unique learning styles, the values and beliefs of their parents and their families and their communities. And so, as you all know, I've been an unapologetic supporter of school choice from day one. And so I'll talk a little bit more. I'll talk a little bit more about that momentarily, but I have some notes here just to keep me on track, because I know we have a lot of exciting activities tonight, and so I want to make sure that I respect your time and attention. Just a quick level set to give you an idea about public education, our traditional public education here in South Carolina. We have just over 1,200 schools across the state, about 81 districts, almost 800,000 students, and almost 60,000 teachers. That is a lot of people doing a lot of different things. We have a lot of governance stakeholders. There's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, as I like to say. I don't know if we have any Johnny Cash fans here in the house, but I am one. And so I think about his song, I Built It One Piece at a Time, right? And you have the 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, on and on automobile. Sometimes that's kind of what it feels like working in education policy, because you have just layers of regulation and law and funding streams, and they've all kind of layered on top of each other over time, and sometimes they make sense together and sometimes they don't really make sense together. And so, you know, at the end of the day, you have something that kind of resembles an automobile, but it was definitely a challenge getting it there. So there's a lot of moving pieces. We have the federal government, we have the General Assembly, we have my office in the state constitution that runs the Department of Education. We have a state board of education that's also established in the Constitution. We have an education oversight committee, which is the legislative committee that oversees our state accountability system. We have the local district boards of trustees. There's a lot of power that lives at that local level. Those local boards are hiring and firing the local superintendents and also setting the budgets for the districts. And in some communities in South Carolina, those local boards have the ability to raise taxes as well. So there's a lot of power and authority that lives in that local board. South Carolina is known as a local control state. And then of course we have the local superintendent. And there are some things that the governor does, but the governor's role in education in South Carolina is much smaller than it is in other states. We spend over $13 billion a year on K-12 public education. That comes out to about just over $19,000 per student in the traditional public school system, and that's on average, so that is not in every district. That's an average of all districts. There is a range that goes all the way from just over $12,000 to some districts that are over $30,000. So, but when you look at the average statewide, it's over $19,000. It's about $13,000 for our public charter schools. So many people ask me, well, what is a charter school? A charter school is a public school that has a different governance model than a traditional public school. But here in South Carolina, charter schools do not get the local funding that our traditional public schools do. So that would be the differential in how we fund our local schools, or traditional schools, I should say, and our charter schools. We do have a growing education ecosystem here in South Carolina that I mentioned. So we have our traditional public schools, we have public magnet schools, public charter schools, we have our new Education Scholarship Trust Fund, we have private schools, we have home schools, and we even have some virtual charter schools. So that Education Scholarship Trust Fund is something that I want to focus on for a minute. That is a $7,500 scholarship that is currently available to students who meet a certain income threshold. This year, the program was open to 10,000 students across the state. There was also a preference for military families. So we have hit that 10,000 student enrollment cap. We are very excited about that, and that will continue to grow. So next year, there is a minimum of 15,000 students that will be eligible for the program, but that is a floor. The General Assembly can decide to fund and allow more students into that program should they desire. And this puts South Carolina well in line with many other forward-looking states like Florida and Arizona, who have had robust school choice for decades. And their public education systems are thriving as a result. When we have more choices for families, it means better opportunities for every kid. And so that's why I'm so excited to see this continued growth and movement in South Carolina. Just to give you an idea of, those almost 800,000 students that are in our traditional public system, we are an in-migration state, as you all who live here in Rock Hill may know. I don't know if you've felt any of that, like movement, people coming into the community, but I'm joking. We have seen a real surge. So since 2019-20, we have seen a 78% increase in the number of charter school students. We have seen a 93% increase in the number of homeschool students in the state. And we have seen a 33% increase in the number of private school students in the state, and all while our population does continue to grow overall as a state. So just a quick report on our traditional public schools, because that is what I at the Department of Education am primarily charged with overseeing, and the vast majority of our students in South Carolina are in those traditional public schools. And we have to be passionate warriors and advocates for them to have a great education. As you mentioned, I graduated from a great public school, and that was truly the hinge of the American dream in my life. That school gave me incredible opportunity that has paved the way for everything that I have done in my life to this point. And I'm so thankful for that investment and for those teachers who shepherded me. And I want every single kid in South Carolina, regardless of their zip code or community, to have that same opportunity. And so I just want to walk you very, very briefly through 4 key points of our department's strategic plan to let you know what we are doing to ensure that every single student in South Carolina is ready for college, career, or the military. And I want to pause on that for just one moment. College. That was my pathway to opportunity. I went to a 4-year school, and I absolutely loved it. That was where I was best positioned to thrive. My brother took a very different path. He went into the military after high school. And that has opened up worlds of opportunity for him. We have students now who in South Carolina are getting their 2-year associate's degrees through dual enrollment while they're still in high school and going straight into the workforce with a high value credential. That pathway, those pathways each need to be elevated and celebrated. I don't know if any of you all follow Mike Rowe, the guy who started Dirty Jobs at all, but I love Mike Rowe. And he recently has been talking about the fact that AI is not going to replace HVAC technicians. It's not going to replace plumbers or carpenters. These skilled trades, we need skilled trades, and we as a society, as a culture, as a state, need to talk about the dignity of all work. Whatever a student's pathway is, we need to make sure that they have a pathway to get the credential that they need to be successful and to go into the workforce and be celebrated for the contributions that they make as citizens of this country. And so that is what we are doing at the Department of Education, and that starts with a strong foundation. So my primary priority in my first 2.5 years in office has been all around literacy. Literacy is the key to all other learning. In the kind of economy that we live in, where our people have to be lifelong learners, continually improving themselves and their skills, the way that you do that is through knowing how to read. And for far too long, we have had colleges of education churning out teachers who are being taught theoretical methods of teaching as opposed to teaching children to sound out the words. So we here in South Carolina are now a science of reading state. Back in the day, we might have called it phonics. But science of reading is actually much more than phonics. It's about fluency, it's about vocabulary building. There's so many components of it. But we actually have MRIs now that tell us that there are 4 separate areas on the left side of your brain that have to be connected in order for you to become a skilled reader. Now, we're all born pre-wired to talk, some of us more than others, but we're not born to read. And so we have to have teachers that have the tools in their toolbox to be able to deliver what is known as systematic, explicit instruction that helps those students build those neural pathways in their brain to become good readers and sound out words. And so we have invested heavily in that. Our partners in the General Assembly have stepped up, and we have trained or are in the process of training every single K-3 teacher in the state of South Carolina in the science of reading, and we've gone beyond that. We're now requiring it as an entryway to certification, which means it's now being forced to be taught in our ed prep programs as well, so that we as a state don't have to pay twice to train our teachers how to teach reading. We also, yes. That literacy train has left the station, and as you said, we are already seeing incredible results. So we've invested in that professional learning for teachers. We have invested in high quality instructional materials that align to that science of reading for the entire state. And now we are seeing those results. Third grade is really the gateway that we look at in terms of kids have to be able to read by third grade, because the further they go along in that process, the more behind they will get if they are struggling with literacy. And so think about all the downstream implications of that. Maybe you were a struggling reader. Maybe you remember the shame, the embarrassment that it felt when you were being asked to do work that you literally were not equipped to do. These kids act out, maybe they even drop out. So really, literacy is the foundation of everything, but we've seen great results. So third grade reading, our scores this year, we have not formally released them. That'll come in about another month. But in looking at the early returns on that third grade piece, we have seen a 43% decrease in the number of third graders who are in that lowest scoring category on our state test. That's real progress. That is thousands of kids. And now we're applying that same strategy in mathematics, investing in high quality professional development for our teachers aligned with high quality materials. So I look forward to reporting to you in the years to come and the progress that we're making in math as well. Our second strategy I touched on briefly already, which is all about that secondary alignment of workforce opportunity and credentials. Creating opportunities for our students to get apprenticeships while they're still in school and to really get that hands-on experiential learning that we know that they're going to need to be successful in life. Again, elevating our career and technical education. We used to call it vocational education back in the day. We need a big dose of that here in South Carolina. And I'm so glad to see that we have pockets of that, high quality pockets of that all over our state. My passion as state superintendent is that every child in every community has access to those same opportunities, especially if they are in our more rural areas. The third strategy that we're working on is all about building citizens of high character. We are talking about, yes, character education. So one quick example of that, we just had a wonderful professional development at the Department of Education for our teachers for the Medal of Honor curriculum. I don't know if you all are familiar with the fact that the National Medal of Honor, Congressional Medal of Honor Museum is actually here in South Carolina on board the USS Yorktown down in the Charleston Harbor. So if you have not gone to visit that, I highly recommend that you do. You will be inspired by the stories of bravery and courage. And these are the stories that we need to put in front of our young men and our young women every single day. And so this curriculum is all about 6 patriotic virtues that we all share as Americans. And so these are the kind of values and virtues that we are delivering. We're creating free resources for our districts to be able to pull down and use in their classroom, and not just in their history classroom, but in really all of their classrooms, because hey, you're reading when you use this material as well. So it's a cross subject strategy. And then of course civics education. I am so excited. Yes. I am so excited by the opportunity that we have in front of us to celebrate the 250th birthday of our country. Yes. And so we are going to be rolling out exciting new resources through what we call our Palmetto Civics Project. Again, resources that we will offer free of charge to our districts and teachers to be able to pick up and use in their classroom. And what I want every single student in South Carolina to know is that we would not have the America that we have today if it were not for their home state of South Carolina. Because while the American Revolution may have started at the battles of Lexington and Concord, the hinge of the American Revolution was right here on the battlefields of South Carolina. So huge areas of opportunity there. Moving quickly to our fourth strategy, our final strategy that I wanted to talk to you about today. It's all about how we can engage our communities in our schools. Because as I love to share with everyone that I talk to, these are our schools, which means they are our responsibility. And it is very easy to sit on the sidelines and criticize, and to be angry, and to be upset with what you're seeing. But my question to every audience I speak to is, what are you doing about it? Because posting on Facebook or complaining to your neighbor doesn't actually fix the problem. We need you in our schools. Our young people are craving mentorship and real connection. And there are so many really easy ways to get engaged in a school. We have something that at the department we call Project Raise Your Hand, where we are allowing our employees to take up to 8 hours of their work month to go into a local school to provide direct support. And it can look like different things in different schools, but I just encourage you, it can be as easy as you going and sitting in the lunchroom so that a teacher can have their planning period. Maybe they need help stocking the shelves in the library, or maybe a teacher needs help passing out papers and just being in that classroom so that she can run and grab a bathroom break, right? There are so many different low threshold ways for us all to be engaged in our schools. So if you have not thought about that, I would deeply encourage you to consider that. Typically what you have to do is go to your district. There will be a volunteer coordinator where you have to do a background check in order to be allowed into a school. But I strongly encourage you to think about how you can provide service and support to our teachers and to our students. And I want to just end where I started, because I truly believe that the main thing has to be the main thing. We have asked our teachers to be everything to everybody, and they simply can't be. A teacher in a school cannot replace a family. They cannot replace a community. They cannot replace a church. We need our entire community at the table supporting our schools. And I love going into especially Title I schools across our state. So Title I is the federal designation for a high poverty school. And what I want to share with you is that we have some Title I schools in this state that are absolutely knocking it out of the park in keeping the main thing. And that means advancing education excellence and outcomes for every student. Our students here in South Carolina, regardless of their community or their income level, are every bit as creative, as capable, and as smart as any students anywhere on God's green earth. And it's up to us to support them and to help them reach their full potential. And so to be able to travel around to these schools and to celebrate their success, to encourage them, and to platform them as exemplars for other schools to look at, to prove that, you know what, poverty is a challenge, it is not an excuse, and it can be done. I just had the most incredible opportunity last week to check off one of my lifelong dreams on my bucket list, and that is to visit the Ronald Reagan Ranch in California. I was born, I'm going to give away how old I am. I was born in 1979 on the cusp of the Reagan Revolution and morning in America. And some of my earliest memories as a child were memories of him as our president. I think the first news event that I remember was the explosion of the Challenger and the incredible speech that he gave, the address to the American people that brought solace and unity to a grieving country. And the ability to see the Reagan Ranch and truly understand where he chose to spend his time. It was a humble place, less than 1,800 square feet, a little adobe building, ranch house. And in fact, Gorbachev came to visit him at that adobe ranch house And the urban legend has it that Gorbachev was offended at first because he thought that they had taken him to the servants' quarters. But that's how Ronald Reagan chose to live. He was a humble man, and he was full of hope. And I feel like that is what attracted the American people to him and to his vision, because he had core values, fundamental values that he would not waver from, but he expressed them with courage and kindness and hope. And I love to share with our students that here in South Carolina, hope is part of our South Carolina DNA. We have 2 state mottos here in our state that form the double helix of what it means to be a South Carolinian. The first motto is, while I breathe, I hope. And I always share with our students that hope is not wishful thinking. Hope is not like, I hope I don't have to take that test tomorrow, or I hope I get ice cream after school today. Hope is a confident expectation that the future can be better than the past or the present. But hope doesn't just stop there. It knows that it requires hard work, and that's our second state motto: prepared in mind and resources. And that is what we are striving to do every single day in the South Carolina education system, is to prepare our students in mind and resources for their future. And so I tell our students, you can remember the DNA of our state with one simple phrase: hope propels hard work. And so this is just a very, very quick tour de force snapshot of the hard work that we are doing every single day to ensure that every single student in South Carolina has an education that empowers them with the opportunity to reach their full God-given potential. Thank you so much for your time.